If you dream of your motorcycle, if your day isn't complete without some time in the saddle, if all you need is the open road and a full tank of gas, well, you've come to the right place because this is Throttled, and it's starting now. Here's your host, Kevin McKinney.
Hello, welcome back to Throttled, everybody. Happy 250th episode. Thank you all for making it to where we have 250 episodes. It's impossible to believe. And to be honest, this marks 5 years of this show. That is absolutely hard for me to fathom that for 5 years, you guys are still asking us to do this. And it means a lot. And thank you for that. Also, I think almost more importantly, happy 2 months left in 2020 and it's over. 2020, it will be done. 2 months left. Halloween was yesterday. We are now in November. Bring on the turkeys. Bring on the happy times. Bring on, hopefully, the end of 2020 and better things for 2021. So we're starting this festive season off properly, but I'm not starting this off, nor have I gotten through the past 5 years by myself. First off, Tom, buddy, how's it going? How's Georgia?
Good evening. Georgia is fine after Hurricane Zeta went through, or the remnants of it, and wreaked havoc in the Atlanta metro and actually in North Georgia area. I was up in North Georgia a little bit today, and thousands and thousands of people without power. Schools were closed for a couple of days because there's just trees down everywhere. Roads were fairly dirty up in the mountains just because of trees down and debris all over the place. So, yeah, this last hurricane kind of hit us a bit hard in the Atlanta metro area. Yeah,
it went right over my head, and we also had impact. There was so much debris on the roads. Our schools and had an initial 2-hour delay with the option to fully cancel is kind of how they said it. So they were like, hey, we're going to go ahead and tell you right now, there will be a 2-hour delay tomorrow. We will look and reevaluate once the storm passes during the middle of the night. A lot of people without power in Alabama. Power did go out for a while. I spent most of the day without internet. Power came back on early, and then that evening, I guess as they were fixing other people's, it would go down for like 2 minutes and then come back up, as they were plugging in, unplugging, and plugging in, unplugging, and doing whatever they do to do that when they're trying to fix it. It was just in and out, and they were working on some other lines and stuff. I'm sure that's what that was. But so similar. And even today.
I was lucky. We didn't lose power or anything at our house. All around us, my sister-in-law and brother-in-law just a few miles away, they were out power for 2 days. They had one way out of their street. They had just trees down and power lines down. Traffic lights were out. So it was, it was a mess. But anyway, we got through it. Hopefully that's the end of hurricanes, although there's another one out there in the Gulf. So who knows, hey, one more.
Well, and I heard that one should be moving inland Mexico and not come back into the Gulf. It should hit Mexico one and move and go away. That's what they were saying. I don't know if I could trust them, but that's at least what they were saying. But back to the show and the introductions and everything. So the first person to come on board and say, this guy needs some help, and give me a hand with his very festive background this evening, jumping the gun on Christmas time. Larry, how's it going, buddy?
Hey, it's going really good, Kev. Happy holidays to everybody. I'm trying to get into the festive holiday season. So, Tom?
The only thing, so I am one of those believers that there is no mention or any celebration or anything resembling Christmas until after Thanksgiving.
I disagree. I will tell you right now. Yep. I am a I guess big softy, big teddy bear. I give it till November 15th, and then Christmas music can start being played around November 15th. No. And the reason is normally for Thanksgiving, my family and I, you guys know, we take a trip or we do something to where we're not around to set up the tree. And sometimes it's several days, like, so, into December before we get a chance to do that. So we kind of start, okay, we're doing Thanksgiving early because we're going to leave. So we do all our Thanksgivings early. And before we leave, we want to come back with the tree up and the decorations up and all that stuff, right? So we kind of shift the whole Thanksgiving
one
thing.
One holiday at a time.
Well, we shift it, but
Well, these are both
one at a time, and
these are combined.
And then move on to the next.
These are combined Thanksgiving and Christmas decorations.
So. They are. I will admit that they are.
So
I chose them very carefully. So I'm doing good. We're fine out here. Luckily, last weekend we did have a fire danger alert, high winds and high dry, underbrush created a big fire hazard, and our power went out for almost 24 hours. But fortunately, there were no fires that did start during that period of time, and maybe turning off the power was helpful for that. And we survived it okay. So doing good now, and hopefully we're getting into we'll start to get some rain, and the seasons will change. And unlike Lloyd, I can keep riding. And Lloyd, well, I bought my house 30 years ago, so I was able to afford it then. But anyway, that's what's happening with me, and things are good. And it's really been a ride being on the show all these years and for these episodes. Thank Kevin for giving me the opportunity to do it, something that I never expected to be doing. And thanks to Tom, it's a pleasure working with you on the show, and it's been a lot of fun. And thanks to everybody who supported the show. It certainly is. We're very grateful for it.
I'm the new kid on the block. I've only been here for about a year.
That's right. That's right.
And Chris couldn't be with us. He's actually celebrating, I think, 12 years with his girlfriend right now. So,
That's
I can't argue with his priorities. I think he's got them pretty lined up there pretty good. So, I'm sure he'll be back here in a few weeks and we'll get him back on. But, Chris also wonderful contributor and kind of, got spun off from us doing his own thing as well. So, and he's got a very interesting show that everybody should check out, So you want to ride a motorcycle. So getting back to the Christmas thing, I was telling you guys beforehand that part of what I brought back from Gatlinburg was a bunch of moonshine. And I was working on the apple pie, and I was honestly just drinking it during the different podcasts and the episodes that I did with the Loud Pipes guys and the two that we've done here since then. And I finished that off the last show that we had. And so tonight I felt kind of festive. I was like, I like to have just another little bit of moonshine. And I was looking on what I had. I had not lemon tea. I had lemonade. And I was like, that's kind of springy, I've got straight white lightning, and I'm like, not really ready to chase that yet. I got sweet tea again. I'm like, summer. I got blackberry. I'm like, it's spring, summer. I'm just like, these wonderful flavors. But one that I had is a peppermint. So it's a peppermint flavoring with the white lightning. It's 100 proof. And I was like, okay, so this is 100. I'm going to cut this. So I cut it, and I poured the glass that I wanted to have. I then measured that to see what it was. I cut that in half, and first I did this with water. So then I poured half the water out and filled it back to that line with the peppermint moonshine. And it actually makes it very smooth. But I went with the peppermint because I'm like, hey, we're getting into the holiday season. Yeah, it may be a little early for all the peppermint stuff, but people started bringing out pumpkin spice, it seemed like in July. So I'm thinking peppermint a few weeks early ain't gonna kill anything. So yeah, I've got that, and it's actually cut down towards half power. Very nice, very smooth, just very tasty. The peppermint really has a lot of strong flavor to it. And I don't know if it's kind of the moonshine and the peppermint working together there. And then, you get that nice little warm feeling in your throat. It's very nice, very tasty. I'm a big fan of that. Definitely something that I'm hoping I don't run out of before Christmas time, because hopefully I cut it down. It's going to last longer. And I'm only planning on really having it during the podcast. So if you could think of another holiday moonshine, send me an email, feedback@throttledpodcast.com, or hit us up on Facebook or Twitter and all the sites, and just say, send me a note. I'd be interesting to see. All right, so that kind of gets us that. What about riding? Did anybody do any riding this week, Tom?
I did. I had the retired life is kind of nice. So I had a couple of rides this week besides just running errands. I went out on Tuesday and just did a fun little ride to get some pictures for our theme tag on the Slack channel. Rodney had a tough one of a helicopter, so it took me a while to find where I could get a picture of a helicopter. They're a little distant, but found one on the military base, and that was about the closest I could get. And then I added a tag that went in a different direction of made it easy with a roadside attraction. It is a large Tyrannosaurus Rex dinosaur. So I did put, tagged it with, any roadside attraction. I did say bonus points if it is a dinosaur. And then if you look at the picture that's in Slack, you'll see something interesting. I said double bonus points if your dinosaur is wearing a bra and panties.
Whoa.
So...
I got to see this one.
Yeah, scandalous.
Go look on the Slack channel and take a look.
So I never.
That was.
I'll say this: I never, in the 5 years we've been doing the show, thought the word panties would be said. Just saying, never. Never thought that would be
on a T-Rex, in the same sentence. So the gauntlet is thrown down to go and find that. But
oh my God. There it is.
So I learned about that. So that I just had to find the helicopter to be able to tag and be able to get that picture up. So that was my ride Tuesday, just kind of tooled around some areas. And then today went out with one of the local groups that I ride with. We had about, I think, 10 or 11 bikes on it. Went up to the Georgia mountains, went to a place called Carter's Dam and Carter's Lake, which I believe is, I forgot to look it up, but one of the deepest lakes in Georgia or something like that. It's 450 feet deep, the lake. Got there as far as a little ride over Fort Mountain in our local Georgia area. Fort Mountain connects the cities of Ellijay and Chatsworth, and we had a nice little, I took a group ahead of the rest of the crowd and had a nice spirited ride over to the mountain. So so Tuesday was about 100 miles. Today was maybe about 180 miles with the group, and it was really nice. Temperatures were about 59, 60 heading out this morning, and got up to about 72 as I was coming back in the afternoon. So good week of riding.
Yeah, sounds great. That
So,
dinosaur is something. Yeah.
what about you, Larry? What?
Well, I did get out and ride this week, but I didn't see any dinosaurs in bras and panties.
Well,
so
there's the tag. There's the tag, Larry. Go find yourself a dinosaur to
yeah.
that one.
Yeah, I'm thinking of roadside attractions, and I might have some, but then they don't match that. So I went out on Tuesday or Wednesday, and went up the coast and turned inland at Marshall. It was a beautiful day. and temperatures were around 70 degrees, which is ideal for me. And so it was just a great ride. Midweek, there isn't any traffic going up there. And so I pretty much had the roads to myself. Went past the Oyster Depot, where you can stop in and get a whole bunch of varieties of raw oysters, and you can sample the different oysters if you'd like, in order to decide which ones to purchase. For me, oysters taste like little pieces of rubber, so I generally don't stop there, but I have tried it out, and of course you can also get cooked oysters there as well. So that was my ride for this week. I'm thinking that I'm going to try to get out at least twice a week and ride. I feel it helps me to feel more comfortable on the bike if I'm riding more frequently. So that's my plan. How about you, Kevin?
Well,
Cool.
What I can remember riding this week, I may have had a ride earlier in the week. I don't think I did. Yeah, let me look at River. I can tell you today. Today I went out and rode because I was going to go ride after the storm because I had an opportunity to. And I ended up not doing it because it was still extremely windy with the gusts just really whipping up. And there was so much just thick debris on the roads, just leaves and everything. And I just didn't feel that I really wanted to have to deal with it. I was like, I don't know what's under that stuff. There's roads closed. There's trees down, limbs down, just all sorts of debris. And with all that kind of stuff, I'm aware that most people, they have a habit of looking at the damage on the side of the road and not where they're going. So I just felt like, hey, for me, that's not going to do it. But today I did get out. And today's ride was a little, it really changed a lot because I left with one plan. And I've been going down a certain path. I'd come out of the neighborhood and I'd head from where I live south into Leeds, Alabama, near where Barber is, and then take 25. It's a local state road that starts off very curvy, very twisty. And it has a lot of elevation change as well. And then I would take that out till it hits 231, Highway 231. And then from there, go someplace, turn right to go other roads, turn left, whatever. That's a kind of a loop that I've been doing. And this time I decided not to do that. I, took a right instead of going that way, headed through the Bass Pro Shop's little, slow drive, woodsy thing because of all the colors and trees, and the temperature was just perfect to ride today. And just had a nice time, came out of the Bass Pro Shop, carried on my way, kind of moved towards and worked my way back roads into more the Hoover, Alabama area, just south of Birmingham. And my wife had actually called and she was like, hey, I've decided, because she had to go pick up my daughter. She ended up spending the night last minute at a friend's house after they got through trick-or-treating across town. And she just got her. She was like, hey, I'm going to run this errand. And I decided we're just going to go eat at this restaurant that we don't get to go too much. And so I was like, I'm actually really close to that. If you just want to do that first, I could go ahead and meet you. And then you could do your errand and I can do my ride and I'll be home before the girls have to be at their practice. So we did that. We did the dinner and I left. Then I just kind of meandered, to Helena, Alabama, to Pelham, kind of took 119 back into my neck of the woods through Moody and ended up back in Trussville where I'm at. So had a great ride. I think it was only 60 something miles, if I remember right. It wasn't a ton of miles, but it was more saddle time and everything. I'll say one of the things that kind of was a bummer today is I got behind a lot of just people deciding they wanted to go 20 miles under the speed limit. One of them, you could tell was young, was a new driver. So I don't have a problem with that. I really don't have a problem with any of it. But, when you're out and it's just, the only thing that could have made it better was to be able to go the speed limit. That would have been nice. But outside of that, I'm trying to pull up the rides. I can't complain about today. It was a great day. And if I didn't have to be back at a certain time, I could have ridden. I'd still be on the bike. I mean, it felt wonderful today out and about. I did get another ride in this week. On the 26th, I just kind of took a little 40 something mile ride. So the one I did today was like 83 miles. And I took a little just 44 mile ride. And it was more of a, okay, let me rephrase that. I had what I thought was going to end up being a horrible meeting. I was very frustrated after the meeting. I was very mad, and it was like right at 5:00. My wife got home and I'm like, I need to get out of here. And I jumped on the bike and just left. And I said, she was like, are you going to be back for dinner? I was like, cook whatever you're going to cook. I will warm it up. If it doesn't warm up, I'll just go hungry. I need to get out of here. So I went out and cleared my head, felt much better when I got back. It was exactly what I needed. A little bit of nighttime riding. I'm not a huge fan of but I just needed to just clear my head. And sure enough, though, that thing that I thought was going to be really bad turned out to be fantastic. So I'm really glad I got my head in the right mind space. So the next morning, first thing when I had to pick that up, everything went as good as I could have ever wished for there. So, that's the power of motorcycle, power of riding, and I really enjoyed it. It was a great time. And so, but that was my riding. So that's, I think, 120 something miles, something like that, 110 for the week. Not a lot, but I am making moves with some tips from Tom to hopefully extend my riding season in. As I've mentioned before, I get a little with this medicine I'm on for all these clots and PEs and all that crap. I get very sensitive to weather change, especially temperature changes. And the cold is something that does affect me. And I'm looking here, I'm like, I want to ride deeper into the season. I really want to ride all year long, not just when, today's a warm day, let's go out and ride. I want to be able to comfortably ride when it's 30. So I'm looking at what I can do to do that. And I said, what gets cold on me? My hands, even though I've got heated grips, my tops of my hands, my tops of my fingers get just absolutely freezing really fast. I mean, even up in, when we were in the mountains riding and it wasn't that cold, my hands got cold. I felt my fingers, and even with the heat warmers on, the hand warmers on. So I was like, okay, I started looking at some heating gear a few days ago. I asked Tom, I'm looking at First Gear, right? First Gear is kind of what I'm seeing a lot of videos on. I asked Tom, and he mentions a company called Warm and Safe. And I'm like, I haven't seen anything about them. Then I Googled First Gear versus Warm and Safe. And then everything I see First Gear has Warm and Safe tagged on after it. But I was having a hard time figuring out who made it for whom. And it seemed like Warm and Safe makes it for First Gear, or does Warm and Safe own and distribute First Gear? Or is it Warm and Safe stuff just labeled First Gear? And, I'd kind of coming down like, okay, I think what I'm saying is the Warm and Safe stuff is the main line. First Gear has a cut of it. Like, if you look at the Warm and Safe site, they've got their generations, the generation 3, the generation 4. They explain all their generations, what's different. Some of them is, hey, we changed from manufacturing over here to bring it to the US, and that's going to be from like 2 to 3. And then 3 to 4 is X. And you can order the 3s, you can order the 4s, you can order it, whatever. So I feel like First Gear is like, okay, they're all the same generation. And that's it, right? And I'm looking at, well, I like this generation 4 stuff. They've got a waterproof version, but I don't think I want to go the waterproof route because I've got a shell, and I probably would not. I just don't think that's what I want to necessarily do there. So we'll go with the Generation 4, and I'm just starting with a liner. And it's a jacket liner, but it's also a jacket itself, right? You can take your top layers off and then wear the jacket around. If you just tuck the leads in, it's made to where you can do that. And that's kind of where like, well, maybe I should have went with the waterproof version, but I decided not to. And then I also picked up a pair of gloves. And I'm like, okay, so I've got gloves and upper body. My lower body doesn't usually get too cold too fast. I can usually do pretty cold with my lower body. Even on the rides I've been taking, it's my upper body that always seems to get colder.
Did you pick up the dual remote controller
as
well?
I did. Because eventually I'll probably get the pants and socks or something. But I didn't want, I've complained several times about the liner inserts for gloves, how you can use any gloves you want. I was like, well, my gloves fit pretty daggone good now, and anything extra in there, I just feel like I can't feel anything. So, and I like the fact that one of the things that First Gear says is our stuff is thinner. There's no insulation, right? It's just a very comfortable, evenly distributed heat source. Even on the gloves, they're not thick gloves. So they're not, like mitts. They're thinner with enough, stuff to block the wind and the cold, but to also allow you to get the benefit of the heat. So you're not got this big pile of material between you and your controls. So that's what I end up doing. I actually ordered that today. Funny thing, I was talking to my wife about it during dinner. And I mentioned something about, because I'd actually had several layers on. I was like, yeah, when I first left the house, it was kind of chilly. But once I got into the sun out from under all the trees, I got warm real quick. So I need to take off. I had the wind thing on, the wind liner in my jacket. And then I had I guess it's the rain liner, but I use it for wind. And then I had the freeze out top on. I was like, I got to take these off. I don't need these. Riding home, the temperature's getting too warm. And she's like, well, you need to look at getting something heated to help you out, because I know you're being affected by this cold. And I'm like, funny thing you said that. I meant to tell you I ordered some stuff earlier. I was like, thank you for bringing up the idea. We're so in sync that I decided I'd just go ahead and do it. And I knew you would be bringing this up, and I love you so much for it. So, that kind of worked out in my favor there. But Tom, thank you I chatted him a few times and everything. And I was already kind of leaning towards First Gear. And once I found out that it's made by this other company, I'd rather go to the source instead of getting something that's relabeled, because you'll get their latest and greatest instead of the middle line one.
Warm and Safe has a good following. I've been wearing their stuff for several years and gone through, they've got, if they come out with a new product, they always offer a trade-in on, if you've got an old version of one of their pieces of gear and they've got something brand new, they do a very generous offer. And I've done that both with my controllers when I had a wire controller, and previous, I think I had a Gen 2 jacket years ago. I did go with the waterproof because I use it as in those transition months when I'm wearing like my Marrakesh or even the mesh jacket as a waterproof layer. So it works for me. But yeah, I'll show you as far as I could take a picture of you as to where I mount the controller. I mount mine up on the handlebars with some 3M lock up against the clutch reservoir.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people using Velcro. They'll use Velcro.
I used Velcro, and I just recently switched it out because Velcro's always kind of squishy. 3M lock works fantastic. I've really been impressed with it. And then I keep the lanyard on and just wrap the lanyard, loop it through the handlebar just in case it does, go off.
Yeah.
Because, then if I'm riding on the scooter, I've got a harness on the scooter as well. So I just take the remote controller, and I've got again, same thing on the scooter. I hook it on there, and I've got, yes, I do have heated gear on my scooter, on the Vespa.
I mean, if you have it, you might as well use it, right? Yeah. So, well, speaking of gear, before we get back to more show 250 things, which I'm going to tell you right now, if you're listening expecting some kind of big event or something to happen, that's not. If you've listened to any of our shows, you know we don't get too worked up over the big milestones. They're just other shows, and we embellish ourselves and make ourselves feel important for an hour. After that, most of the show's normal. Do today we actually get into any articles? I don't know, but do we normally know that before we start a show? Probably not. No. So we go through it, and there's some good stuff to talk about. And one that I was actually going to let the guys talk about it, and if we don't talk about it today, we'll talk about it definitely next week, because I really don't think anybody else will. Outside of that, so you guys both have competing inflatable vest.
Yes,
Larry,
we do.
you are representative of Helite, correct?
Yes, I am.
Tom, I can't remember. What are you a representative of?
Hit air, and it's an airbag vest. You say an inflatable vest, and I feel like I'm wearing those little, the kid scrunchies on my arms or something.
Well, that honestly was the mental image that I was going for. So, so we have a shootout at the Throttled Corral, if you so say. Nobody will but me. But maybe that should be the title of this episode. I don't know. We'll see. I gotta
or the inflate out.
The inflate out.
Well,
Ooh.
then I threw a
nice.
third one into the mix. So both what Larry and I have, and I think Larry's been wearing it longer than I have, and actually has experience with it inflating with his Helite. Are very similar. So the Helite and Hit Airs are two of the leading, Helite's made by a French company, Hit Air is made by a Japanese company, is the cores. And they function virtually exactly the same in design, but they do the same thing. They're meant as a vest to be worn over any jacket, and you wear it on top of your jacket, and it's a tethered system. So you put a tether around, some anchor on your bike, the frame, and then every time you get on and off, you have to click in and click out. And the idea is that with about 60 foot-pounds of force, if you were separated from your bike, the air immediately, within milliseconds. And Larry, I mean, since you've actually had that happen to you, and then I'll talk about the alternative electronic vests, but how quickly did that happen when you set yours off?
Well, that's a good question. The first time I unfortunately got to test out the vest in real life, I was doing, I was going around 65 or 70 miles an hour when I went down. So the vest had to act quickly, and it did. I mean, before I hit the ground, the vest had inflated, and I was my head and neck were immobilized. One of the things that I like about the Helite vest is that it does have a sort of an inflatable cuff in the neck area, so that when it inflates, it presses against the helmet and kind of immobilizes the head and neck. So if you hit the ground, or if your head hits the ground, you're less likely to have too much bending in that area. And when I went down at speed, my head, I think, did hit the ground once, and then thereafter I was sliding most of the time. The vest really did keep my head and neck immobilized, so that it didn't, I didn't rock around. And the other thing about the inflation is that it helps protect the upper abdominal area and the rib cage. So the Helite worked for me. I had a second incident at a lower speed, and it also went off and helped to prevent I think my head from banging against the ground because again it helps to immobilize that area. Some of the other vests are designed more to, I think, protect the chest area, and they don't actually immobilize the helmet. And maybe you can say something about that, Tom. But in terms of
Yes.
this,
So both the hid air does very similar. So it does mobilize the neck as well. And then when I talk about the climb, same thing. It's got airbags that come up on top of the shoulders and pretty much locks your head in place.
oh, that's good.
The thing about the climb though is you're paying for a climb, right? I mean, is it more expensive?
Well, so yeah, let's talk about that as far as the cost. So difference first is the climb is an electronic airbag. So the difference from the two tethered systems is that this has a motion sensor and it's got a GPS connection to it. So it senses when you are going to have an accident via whatever algorithms that it does. Also, it's a vest that you wear close to your body and underneath your jacket. So you do have to be a little bit more careful as to the jacket that you wear has to have a little bit of room, and I think it's about an inch and a half of room in your torso, back, and on your shoulders. And you think that's a lot, but it's really not much. So that's the basics of it. So when you get into cost, the hid air is going for, I believe, around $650 to $699 these days. Or excuse me, the Helite. Hid air is a little bit less expensive in the five and a quarter range, all depending on the color that you get. The climb is a two-part system, so the vest itself is $399, so $400.
All right.
But what kind of confuses and I think ups a little bit people with climb vest is, like I say, it's two parts. So you buy the vest for $399, and then the second part of it is the electronics that control it, and that's made by a company called InMotion. They're a French company, and they're actually the manufacturers of the vest, and they make these vests for about half a dozen different manufacturers, Held being one of them, and several others within Europe area, and so Climb is the U.S. distributor. So for the electronics, they give you two options. You can either purchase it outright for another $399, so that makes it $800 for the whole thing, or you can lease it from them for either $120 a year or $12 a month. So the $12 a month is kind of a neat idea, because if you're in an area where you don't ride part of the year, you can pause it and not pay in those months that you're riding again. So what's the difference between the two? It really comes down to what InMotion does is, with this subscription, you get continuous updates. So they constantly get information from all of their manufacturers on crash data, ride data. This thing is monitoring everything that you're doing, and they want you to hook up to the internet at least once a month. And at least quarterly, the system gets software updates with whatever tweaks to the algorithm that they've done. And so it's supposed to be better. There's also some racers that are wearing their gear in MotoGP and Superbike racing. So they do have track versions that are available that you can have. It's not available yet in the U.S. Should be available.
They use different
so
algorithms.
You get that continuous the algorithms updated. There is a mobile app that you can look at and see, are you up to date with the latest software? What's your battery level? Do you have a good connection? If you need it, you can get service, software support from it. And I found their service to be pretty good. So on their subscription offer, you get VIP service rather than if you buy it outright, you get standard service. I don't know what the difference is. I did the 120 a year subscription because I ride year round, and I've gone back and forth with them with some questions, and they have responded within 24 hours and were able to satisfy my answers. So there is also just recently. What is the website? Web. There's been another update on this. Web Bike World. Sorry. So they did a very exhaustive review of the Climb Vest. So for the technical sides of it, how it works, I recommend going out there to Web Bike World and looking up the Climb Vest. I wanted to talk about as far as how it wore. So what's the difference between wearing an electronic vest, such as the Climb, as opposed to the tethered vest? So, I'm very active on ADV Rider. I've talked to a lot of folks on there. And Larry, you're probably the tethered vest for quite a while. It's just ingrained to you that you click it on as soon as you get off the bike and you click it off. It's just one motion and you're used to it. Is that true?
Absolutely not. One of the problems that I have, and it may be because of my failing memory, but I often fail to click in when I get on the bike. I almost never forget to put on the vest, but I get preoccupied with other things, and then I take off, and then I look down and I see the tether waving in the breeze. So one of the issues around the vest for me is remembering to click in. Occasionally, I'm able to do it whilst I am riding, but more often I need to stop and pull over and click the tether in. On the other side of it, I rarely forget to unclick when I get off the bike. I've never activated it by mistakenly getting off the bike and pulling on the tether. That has happened, but you need more force than that to activate it. So, but usually I remember to unclick when I get off the bike. But a problem for me is remembering to click in when I get on.
And that's been my challenge as well. Is probably maybe 60% of the time I remember to click it in, and then either I get down to the end of the street and I've realized it because I have mine up on my tank bag just so I can notice it. Other times I've been riding along and okay, I've completely forgotten about it, and have tried to click in, and I've done that, but that was my challenge. The other challenge is I have multiple bikes. Yes, I got the scooter that I ride quite a bit, and I don't have a tether on that, so I couldn't wear it there. So
you can get obviously additional.
Yeah, you can get an extra one. I just had not done that as of yet. So I will say. So now I've worn the Climb for about 3 weeks. I've done half a dozen rides with it, regular rides, as well as I've done errands in town where I've just had it on. It is effortless. So it's kind of turn it on, put the vest on, the jacket goes on. I don't feel it at all. All the electronics are in the back. It does have a integrated level 1 back protector. So you can, and I've talked with both Climb and Emotion on this as to, well, since it has a back protector and it's got the airbags, should you remove the back protector out of your regular riding jacket? Yeah. And both responded the same way, is that's a personal decision. Really? So, whether you want to keep it in or out, it doesn't hurt it either way. I chose to remove my back protector because it just, okay, I've got a level 1 in there. My jackets had either a level 1 or a level 2 D30 back protector. So I took those out, makes the jacket a lot lighter, makes it extremely comfortable to wear, where I don't even feel the vest at all once it's on me. It does zip up, and it's got quite a bit of elastic under the arm, so it's a snug fit, but didn't feel it. The hottest day I rode with it was 2 weeks ago. It was probably 80, 82. No issue as far as heat that I could feel. Probably in midsummer, at 90, 95, when I've got my mesh jacket on, it may be a little bit warmer. But the opposite side of, with the hit air, you're wearing it over your jacket, so it is blocking of the airflow that goes into your mesh or through some of your venting areas. I don't know. Do you have the same with the Helite? Does it block some of your vents or prevent a little bit of airflow?
Well, I think it probably does. But tell the truth, the only time I really noticed a difference is if it was in hot weather, if I was standing still. And then
Right.
it felt like it was warmer with the vest on than it would have been with the vest off. Warm either way. But once I'm moving, tell the truth, I didn't notice much of a difference. The vest has enough area, the open area to allow for ventilation once you're moving.
Yeah, so then the other areas that, since it's electronic, you have to uh, make sure that it's charged. And so that was a little bit of trepidation as to, well, the tethered system is dead simple. It's, as long as you're hooked to the bike, it's going to go move away from the bike. So I did like, as far as with the climb, the electronic system is that you didn't necessarily have to, in the unlikely event of a crash, um, it would go off if it's sensing a crash where you don't necessarily have to have been separated from the bike. Uh, and so that was a plus on it.
Hmm.
The other is, so he did have a little bit of trepidation about the charging, but I found that their literature says that you've got about 25 hours of battery life out of it, and I'm finding that to be true. So, like, I did about a 6-hour ride today, or I turned it on at 9 this morning, got back to the house about 3, so it was on for 6 hours, riding on and off the bike, and checked the battery, and I used I think it was down to 81%. So 19%, 20, so let's say 20%. That puts it right at the 25 to, 30 hour. Uh, the other one was it last. I did a couple of rides that equaled about maybe. I didn't turn
Hey,
the
Tom, go
main
back.
power. I
You've been,
just put it in the closet and I took it out.
yeah, Tom, you've been kind of cutting in and out for a lot of this,
Oh,
but
have I?
yeah, that last little bit, most of it we could make out, but that last little bit we couldn't. We'll go ahead and move on just a hair. One of the questions I had, because I think people want to know, you say you took your level 2 out of your jacket. Could you put your level 2 in the vest?
No, no, you cannot, because so the level 1 that's in the vest is formed around the electronics, so it is customized to fit within the vest itself.
Okay. All right.
So it is a level 1 back protector. Uh, it's formed so that it goes around the electronics and has a one little cutout for it, so that you can't really replace that with a level 2.
All right. Well, that's unfortunate.
So yeah, I mean that's the one piece. But I look at it this way: is that, well, I was wearing it without and a level 1 in one of my jackets, level 2 in another jacket. So you've got the level 1 back protector, but then you've got the airbag along with that. So I think that takes it well above what a level 2 back protector would be with the two of those combined. So that's the way I approach it. Comfort's really there. So if I was cutting out, what I was going to say was that, okay, using the vest on and off for several days and just leaving it on and goes into standby mode. So basically what I'm doing now is I charge up.
Yeah, you're
set,
cutting out again, man. Tell you what.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
Don't know
do
if
this. Let's
it's
just.
me or.
Yeah, I think it's just you because your signal's dropping in and out, your camera's freezing, and you're jumping all over the place. But that's life after internet issues and hurricanes and stuff like that. But we'll worry about it. I would say you may want to restart your router before you go to work tomorrow, or you don't have to go to work tomorrow. Well, never mind. Mr. Retired.
Just to add something to what Tom was saying, the Helite also has a back protector. It's a pretty significant one. I'm not sure what I'm on the website trying to see what they say about it. I don't see a listing of the actual level of protection of the back protector. But I've taken out the back protectors in my jackets because it would have been. Oh, it says a fully integrated SASTEC back protector, SASTEC, whatever that means. But it's a pretty.
Sorry, I'm back. Hopefully, my audio is a little bit. Reset my my Wi-Fi real quick.
Okay.
No, you're still popping everywhere.
You're still breaking up. Yeah.
It's your router, most likely.
But anyway, just to mention that, it's a pretty significant back protector, and I would find it pretty awkward if I had two back protectors on, to tell the truth. The jacket does have the vest does have a significant back protector, and also it's pretty stiff on the front as well. So it just offers that kind of physical protection in addition to the airbag stuff. So. For the level of protection I think they provide, the cost is really almost insignificant, in comparison to what it would cost to deal with the damage that would be increased by not having one on, I think. There will come a time, I think, when this technology is going to be a whole lot cheaper, and you'll probably have more apparel with it than without it.
Well, awesome. Tell you what, you guys do this.
If you can hear me, my last conclusion is, so what did I choose between having both vests for the last 3 weeks? My conclusion is that my hit air is now up for sale. So there you go.
I would do the same thing. It would be nice to have a smaller, lighter thing that you can actually wear inside and you don't have to tether. And that doesn't rely on you separating from the bike to discharge.
Yeah, and wearability just has been great in the rides I've been doing it. I don't. Sometimes I forget that I even have it on, and I don't have to think about clicking in. It's just getting on and off the bike as you would normally.
So one of our to change the subject, do this, guys. Continue to compare notes offline during the week, and if we get anything else we want to mention, we'll have an update next week. Hopefully, the internet issues will resolve themselves a little bit there. The one thing that did happen this week is one of our wonderful supporters, Mr. Split Hairs, he's in the live stream all the time. He sent me a congratulatory letter for the 1250. And he points to a use case of an individual who had a multi-year, like a 4-year-old GS that, he would ride on the weekends to his local coffee establishment and sit there with all of his adventure gear and adventure magazines and talk the talk without walking the walk. And he asked me to very, very politely encourage me to not let that be the case for 1,600 miles over a 4-year period. To not let that be the case. And he even offered, though, knowing the status that the GS has, he sent along a wonderful gift card that will cover the cost of my first cup of coffee on the GS when I go to Starbucks. So just for him, when I use said card, I will make sure I go on the GS and I'll do my best to get a picture and post it in the Slack channel and on the website just for everybody. I do appreciate it. It was a very funny and interesting gesture. It made my day. I really appreciate it. So hats off and thank you for that. Anybody else that would like to shower us with such comical gifts, feel free to reach out and we'll make arrangements. But I will say this.
When you do that, you'll have to take a picture and post it onto the tag, because that'll be very difficult to be able to find a Starbucks, take a picture of our bike.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But I will say that I'm doing pretty good. I've had the bike for not even a month, and I've got 1,400 miles on it now. So,
and how many times have you dropped it?
Only the 2.
Oh,
Only the 2.
That was harsh.
Hey, but that's fine. I'm okay with it, because to me, if I'm dropping my bike, then I'm at least riding my bike.
You got a point there.
So I don't have a problem dropping my bike, because bikers will help me pick it up, except when you do it by yourself in your garage and you're on your own. But any other time, I've dropped every bike I've owned. I dropped the KTM twice, not including the accident, of course. But just as far as a drop, I've dropped the Tenere once. Well, we covered that really well in the show, so I just got it out of the way, and got the next one out of the way too. So I should be good for a while. I expect to drop that bike many more times. I'm hoping to do more on that bike once I get it kitted out. It's just going to take a little bit of time, as I'm not really physically ready to take it out. It's going to take me time to get it prepared with, engine guards. And I think I do want to get just some of those plastic head covers just for a little bit more, oopsie, because I have bad luck with stuff like that. And a skid plate and, some other things, just protection, lightweight stuff that may not ever need it, but it'll make me feel better to spend my hard-earned money on something I don't need. So that's that, and Split Hairs, hats off. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
One time when I was practicing with Brian H, he was doing ever decreasing radius circles on his GS, and he dropped it a couple of times, and he said he didn't have any problems with it at all. It shows that he's but he was pushing the limits.
You don't know where your limit is until you go too far. Now you know where your limit is. Now you know how to get close and to get better, and then that will organically push it. You just don't know. But a lot of people are just like, oh, I don't want to do that. I might mess it up. Well, if you put the right stuff on it, my bike's still new, so there's that new quality, but there will become a point in time where something will happen. Well, it's already happened, kind of. Something will happen and it'll get messed up. So I used to have a truck. And for the first year I had that truck, year and a half, I had that truck. It never went in the woods. It never got whatever. And then one day I come out and there's this huge scratch all the way down it in the parking lot. Well, the only way to fix it, that gives a deep scratch, is to repaint it. Well, next time I was up my wife had some land at the time and was up there. We went up there in the truck and it got kind of messed up here and there. And I'm like, well, you use a truck, eventually you're going to have that kind of stuff on it. And, I like it being nice for a little bit, but eventually I'm going to use it. So, the KTM, good Lord, I took that thing out immediately. And it looked pretty when I first got it. It looks ugly and dirty and gunky now,
Yeah.
But that's what I bought it for. And I could keep it pretty in my garage. Can't keep it pretty. My wife will tell me today, you need to watch my BMW. She says, you need to watch this. This thing's filthy. I'm like, thank you. And a guy looked at me, he was walking by, he looked at me. I'm like, if it's clean, I'm not riding it enough. That was my answer. He smiled and walked on. So, anyway, so let's do this. Let's jump over to the paddock. We're getting kind of long on time. And Larry, I don't know if you listened to last episode, but I gave my thoughts. I actually watched part of the bagger race.
I heard the episode, and I as a result of your comments, I actually put in a link to the King of the Baggers drag race in Motor America.
And Larry, I'll actually say that I watched a recording of it, but I watched a motorcycle race. I watched the bagger race. It was interesting.
Yeah.
My comment on it was that it would have been much more entertaining were they in standard bagger garb as well. I put a note on this, so I would have liked to seen them, with a beanie helmet and a
Skid
t-shirt and
lids, yeah.
jeans, and going around, and that would have, made
So
it just fit the image.
they should have had inflatable dolls on the back and bikinis. And look, we picked on BMWs earlier. We're picking on the baggers now. We pick on everybody, right?
We do. They were equal
opportunist here. But I will say, I have watched part of that race again. I really, I don't know why. Maybe it's my redneck coming out. I really enjoyed it. That's why I'm just like, that's what we need to have Saturday night here. We don't need none of this sport bike crap. Everybody's got one of these. Let's go.
Yes.
Where's that Discovery Channel racing thing?
Well, Kevin, there really is something to that. I think being able to identify with the bikes and the riders really makes a difference. And for sure, watching these, 800-pound baggers going around the track at 125 miles an hour was I thought quite entertaining. I thought it was also the skill of the riders on these bikes, I thought was quite remarkable. Those guys were getting their knees down on these baggers, and they were, it really was, I thought, an entertaining race. The results were, it was basically the Indians against the Harleys, and there were only a couple of Indians in the race. The rest were Harleys, and most of them were street glides for the Harleys, and the Indians, I think, were challengers. And they, the challenge, it was a challenger that won the race, and he did so in a very interesting fashion because he actually went off the track at one point, had to drop back, came back on the track, managed to keep his bike upright, and moved through the pack, and he passed the leading Harley and went on to win the race. So the Indians took two of the three podium positions. They took first and third. There was a Harley in between, and the rest of the bikes were Harleys. All of them, of course, were modified, heavily modified for the race, and I think one of them was turbocharged. One of the Indians was turbocharged, or maybe it was a Harley, but they didn't end up finishing on the podium. It was fun. I thought it was fun watching them do it. I hope they continue to do it and see what happens. And if it turns out again to be kind of a competition between Indy and Harley, so much the better. But it would be cool to see other big baggers in the mix as well.
I want a true stock bike race. It's true. If how the model comes off the floor, you can order parts from current catalogs that anybody can get. And there should be a limit on the amount you can spend to upgrade the bike. Just like anybody really has. Most common people have. And that's what you take. You want narrower boxes, you got to spend part of your money to narrow those boxes. Otherwise, you get that. There's no custom boxes that you can't buy off the shelf.
What would they put in? Is it rough estimate $20,000 in engine and suspension work on those bikes?
Yeah. And I agree with what Rodney said, that they joked about having a six-pack in the back. I think that the drinks that they take out after the race have to be on each. So everybody's got like the bottle of champagne that they spray, and you only get to spray your bottle if you win. So like in one of the panniers, they've got that in there, just kind of sitting and waiting. And you got to pull it up and open it up and pull it out. I mean, if we're going to go trash, let's just go. Right. I mean, let's make it entertaining for folks. But yeah, I want to see that. I want to get back to, that's why I don't watch a lot of racing, because a lot of it is so much beyond. And I know it's the entertainment and they're doing all these amazing speeds and there's a lot of skill in that. I'm not taking anything away from the riders, but a lot of people just can't relate. And I I like to be able to relate. And so if you say, hey, this is that bike and we've done X to it and it costs X amount, which is affordable for people to do over a year or so, month to month. And, it's like, hey, here's, you get the stock bike, you get $3,000 to $5,000 worth, and that's it. And everything has to be parts you can order from a current catalog that's available to everybody.
Well, in Flat Track they do have the production twins class.
And see, I love that.
Yeah, and those are much closer to standard bikes. But this was a good. I thought this was a good first attempt at
Yes.
at it, and hopefully they'll continue it. I think that it'll garner some interest because. It is easier to relate to the bikes and the riders in this. But boy, those guys were still doing a heck of a job getting those bikes around the curves.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I thought.
you can tell a good rider when you see one. And these guys were awesome riders. And it was even with my modifications, so to say, that I just suggested, without them, I still enjoyed the heck out of it.
Yeah, it was fun.
So yeah, why don't you go ahead and
all right. Well, let me briefly summarize. We've missed several weeks of racing, and American Flat Track has come to a close. Briar Bauman repeated his win from last year. He is again the overall Super Twins champion, and he did it really. By not only winning in the last few races, but also in the last race, I think he finished in 5th, but he had enough points to take the championship, and he was advisedly doing that because Slamming Sammy Halbert was trying to get by him, and he didn't want to risk getting into a tussle with him, so he let him go by and accepted 5th place in the race, but it was enough to get him over the hump. The last few races were quite entertaining, and there was still a lot of competition between Bauman and Jared Meese, who came in second, I think, overall in the points total. And Sammy Halbert had a very credible run this year. I think he came in 3rd. Brandon Robinson won the short track at Daytona for the second night. These were the last races, so the racing wasn't totally dominated by Bauman and Meese. There were other riders that were in the mix, and the races by and large were pretty competitive and a lot of fun to watch. So this was a good season, I think, from Flat Track, pandemic notwithstanding. And I'm looking forward to next season and seeing if some of these younger riders and other riders can provide a challenge to Meese and Bauman. So that was good. Flat Track was fun, and I enjoyed watching it. As far as MotoGP goes, well, of course, we've missed several weeks of that as well, and these have been a very interesting several weeks. There were 2 races at the track in Aragon. There was we also missed, I think, the race in Le Mans in France. And the results were quite interesting. The standard people who we've been for several years now who have been dominating the races were more or less nowhere to be seen. And new riders, younger riders, really seemed to come up and out and prove their mettle in these races. Now, the fact that Marc Marquez was not racing, may have been a factor. He may well have been dominant this year as well if he was in the race. His brother, Alex Marquez, actually rose remarkably in these last few races. He took a couple of second places, coming out from the back of the field and taking second place, and in a very skillful demonstration of his abilities on that Honda that's so difficult to control. and that some people felt only Mark, his brother, could control. But Alex is showing that he can also is getting a handle on that Honda. So in France, it turns out that it was a wet race, and of course, when the track gets wet, everything changes. So Daniele Petrucci proved to be the best wet track rider, and he won that race. And Alex Marquez took second in that race, and Espargaro took third. So again, so the winners are changing with each race. Uh, in in Aragon, which is the second race we're covering, it was interesting in that Quartararo was very fast in the qualifying, got pole, even though he had a crash, and Vinales was also very fast and took second place on the grid with Crutchlow in third. When the race started, seemed like it would be a battle between Quartararo and Vinales for the lead, but Vinales started to pull ahead, and however, as the race progressed, tire wear became a much bigger factor, and that's one of the things that is very important in these races now, is really managing their tire wear and adapting the bikes to work with the Michelin tires that are being supplied for the races. So it turned out that Alex Rins on the Suzuki, which is noted for its ability to minimize tire wear, was able to take the lead. And Rins was able to take first place, and Alex Marquez had a second podium finish in second, and Johan Mir on the other Suzuki managed to finish in third place. Vinales was only able to take fourth. In the second Aragon race, the Teruel Grand Prix, it seems again like a new generation of riders was coming to the fore. In the qualifying, Nakagami on the non-factory Honda was dominating, and he took pole position. Now, Nakagami had been doing well this year, finishing in the top 10 frequently, but for him to take pole was sort of unprecedented and marked a real turn in his abilities on the Honda. Franco Morbidelli on one of the Petronas Yamahas was able to. Oh my! What is that?
What?
I'm hearing a roaring sound.
Oh,
Not me.
That's my fan on the PC. It just kicked on. It usually doesn't turn on.
Okay, as long as it's not being recorded. So. Morbidelli was in the first turn. So Nakagami took pole in the race, and in the first and he was under a lot of pressure. He felt, having taken the pole position, that he was getting a lot of publicity, and there was a very high expectation that he could win the race. So he apparently felt that, and was very aggressive in the start of the race, and he went down in the first turn. There's something to be said for warming up your tires before you get aggressive. Morbidelli, who had started second, took over the lead, and he never looked back. He kept the lead throughout the whole race, extending it as the race went on. Rins slotted into second on one of the Suzukis and was able to overtake Zarco to do that. But was unable to close the gap on Morbidelli. Morbidelli is just running a terrific race. And Mir, on the other Suzuki, actually cemented his lead in the championship points by finishing third. He came up from like 12th place to third, ran a fantastic race. And Mir right now is in the lead for championship points, although he hasn't won a single race this year. And it is possible that he could win the championship without doing so. So, but he is also a strong contender, I think, to finish on the podium and in first place in one of the remaining races. Rossi, by the way, has been out because he tested positive for COVID, and so I'm not sure when he'll be returning to racing, but he missed the last two races. And he went down at Le Mans because of the wet conditions, so he's out of the running for the championship this year. So, on to Spain next weekend in Valencia for the Gran Premio de la Comunitat Valenciana. See you there.
Awesome. As always, very well done. Thank you very much. Appreciate you getting us all caught up for sure. I know it's always hard to keep all those things straight after it's taken so long.
But it's fun.
So let's give a shout out, wrong button, to this one. The Throttle crew, everybody that makes this show happen, all the guys that have kept us around for around 250 episodes. Really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Look, you guys tune into the live stream. You send in wonderful bonuses and just tidbits of information and videos and things that make us laugh and smile and everything. And we really appreciate everything you guys do. You guys are a wonderful community, and the show wouldn't be here without your support. And if you would like for the show to keep going, if you would like for the show to change it all, if you like for the show to have something like that, send in your feedback. Another way to help out and to contribute is to sign up as a Throttled crew member on our Patreon page, which you can find through our website, throttledpodcast.com, and scroll to the bottom of the main page, and there's a Patreon logo link there that you should be able to get. Really, really, really appreciate all these guys and everything that they do, the support that they give. They're awesome. Everybody out there that's been listening forever, you guys are awesome as well. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Don't forget, you can follow us on Twitter at Throttle Show, Instagram Throttle Show, Facebook Throttle Podcast. And I think that's, we do broadcast live most Sundays, 7:30 Central. We do it through YouTube. We post up the link on Facebook and Twitter about 15 minutes before the show goes live. And that's kind of it. Send us your feedback at throttlepodcast.com. Hey, if you're an iTunes user or wherever you listen to us at, if you wouldn't mind giving us a 5-star review and maybe some nice words, comments to help continue to grow the show, we'd really appreciate it. If we don't meet that 5-star bar, and after 250 episodes, if there's something we can do to change, to elevate the show, send us an email.
Know.
Feedback at throttlepodcast.com. Sometimes people put up a negative review. They're a long-time listener, yada, yada, but I can't do it anymore. X happened. Send us an email. Let us know that you've got these concerns because we want to address them. We care what your thought is. And a lot of the changes that we've made on the show over the years has been directly because listeners have said X. The paddock section in of itself was listener driven. So coverage of certain things, listener driven. The lack of coverage on certain things, listener driven. So, we do our best to try to listen to what you guys want. We're willing to try out new things. And this year, obviously, COVID changed a lot of our plans. But we've got things that we want to do, but, we want to hear what you guys have. What ideas do you have? Bring them to us. If there's something that would make our show your favorite show, let us know. And we may give it a shot. If there's something that another show does really good, I don't know if we're going to necessarily copy what they're doing, but we may look at what is it doing and how is it interacting with the audience and what's it providing that maybe we're not, and see if we could put a segment together, a few shows together, or something to try to give you guys some variety in the show. Or, do you not want variety? I mean, we just need to know, give us some feedback, and that's what we love to get from you guys. So feel free, good, bad, we love getting it. So I think that's all I got. Anybody else got anything else before we sign off?
No, just thanks to the guys in the chat. It was a great chat as usual and very informative as well. They had a lot of information that I hadn't realized, for instance, about the bagger racing.
All right.
Tom, were you going to say something?
Yeah, no, it was good info all the way around. I apologize for my my internet audio and video lagging. I will have to go downstairs and feed the hamster and get him running a little bit faster. So I'll make sure I do that.
Well, of course, now that we're wrapping the show, it seems to be getting better. But anyway, So, wow, Rodney's funny. He was like, "Yeah, I mentioned coronavirus, so he's demonetizing me." That's typical. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. You're a good friend there, Rodney. Anyway, he actually is a good friend. I appreciate everything Rodney does for the show, and all the people here. He's a great resource for everybody in the Throttled crew. Outside of that, all right. So, Tom, you want to start on first?
Absolutely. So thanks, everybody. Hope you got out of tonight what we wanted to. Really enjoyed talking about the gear. That's near and dear to my heart. I'm a gear nut. So, if you want to hear more about heated gear, I've worn it for a long time. I could do that. If you want to hear more about the airbag vests, we can do something more on that as we, wear them longer and get the niggles out of them. So everybody enjoy your week. Ride safe, ride often. Larry?
And I would just add, make sure you ride your own ride. Have a great week.
All right, everybody. Hey, thanks so much for 250 wonderful episodes. We don't know how much longer we're going to be on this ride, but however long it is, 250, 500, or 2. We appreciate every one of you that have come along around with us the entire ride. You guys are awesome. We really love you. We appreciate you more than you can ever know. Thank you so much for blessing us with this. We'll see you all next Sunday. And if you do get out there ride this week, ride safe. See you then, guys. All right. Hey, everybody in the live stream, you guys, as always, awesome. Everybody watching on YouTube later, thank you so much for staying to the end of the show. I don't really look at the metrics. I don't know how often that is. I'm not into it for that. But hey, if you did like it, do me a favor, hit the like button, share it on your media, share it with your friends, subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Hit the bell icon, all that good stuff that they tell you on YouTube. It does help us out. It gets us out in front of more faces. The larger we can grow the YouTube audience. That's why we went to YouTube. It's an opportunity for you guys to help us grow it just by hitting that like button at the end of every episode or everything. And I don't even know if you can do that during a live stream as it's going. But if you see it pop up on your feed and you haven't liked it, give it a like. It helps us out. We really appreciate it. Anyway, hey everybody, thank you so much. Have a great week. Planning on being here next Sunday. I do have a class, but I should be back in plenty of time to do the show. So we'll see you then. See you guys.
Night, everybody.